So, March 2026 has been a pretty special month in the world of rock and metal. We've seen some fantastic new music, and this is a breakdown of everything I found the most interesting from this month. If you're new here, I'm Ollie. This is my world of metal, and I appreciate you. I'm going to cover the likes of Gaerea, Lamb of God, some of the bigger releases from this month, as well as some more left field choices and small bands that you may not be familiar with. And I'm aware that Exodus released a new album this month, but I've just not had a chance to get to listen to it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's fantastic. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we're going to Norway as we check out Vreid and the new album, The Skies Turn Black, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I found it interesting because it's more of a left field take on black metal. I've got all the traditional black metal elements in there, the blast beats of tremolo pig guitars, but there's elements of atmospheric and folk metal, and there's even the heavy metal spine to some of the songs. Again, just they're not sticking to what the genre necessarily dictates, and I think that's pretty cool to put their own stamp on it. You can tell that some of the lyrics and some of the themes for these songs are very personal to the band and very true to life. The album's title track, Skies Turn Black, that was composed by Yari as a fitting tribute to the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, as he left this world in July 2025. Sorry, 2025. And as the theme tune to the movie Kraken, which the band composed. Also, the song From These Woods, which was actually wrote by the band as they locked themselves away in the cabin in the Norwegian woods in order to get away from life, to get away from the world, and to focus on the compositions. So yeah, quite a lot going on in this album, and if you like black metal more on the left field side, definitely give it a go. Now we're staying in Norway as we check out Leaves' Eyes, a symphonic metal band from the country. And yeah, I love a bit of symphonic metal. I'm always talking about black metal, post metal, death metal, but definitely love a bit of symphonic metal on the side. And this is only a short 4-track EP from Leaves' Eyes, but it really showcases everything brilliant about the band. I think really it's the vocals of Elena, the soprano female vocalist, and the harsher growls from Alexander. You know, it's a nice beauty and the beast contrast there, as I like to think of it. And yeah, this is a classic symphonic metal album. No need to overanalyze it, I suppose. If you're into that sort of thing, definitely give this a go. Lamb of God released a new album this month, one of the most anticipated for the month, Into Oblivion. And I do have a deeper dive on this, but this is just a quick summary, really. It's quite interesting really because from a compositional point of view, they said that they wanted to incorporate some of the regional sound into their music, something they think that some bands are missing. So they looked at bands from the early '90s, the Richmond, Virginia scene, which who inspired them, and they've incorporated some of those elements into the music. It's got everything you expect from Lamb of God. The fast-paced melodic death metal. There's even some sludgier, slower elements in there. And that's it's a good thing. It's also a bit of a problem because, they're not really challenging themselves too much. They're not really trying anything too different or too experimental. But again, that's kind of a good thing. Bands get crucified for just, even trying something different. So yeah, it's a good classic Lamb of God album. Now we're off to Portugal as we check out Gaerea and their new album, Loss. Again, this was another highly anticipated album. And I was quite interested in this because I loved Mirage. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, and that was my introduction to the band. And yeah, it's interesting how they've kind of evolved a little bit over the years. They've lost that raw, aggressive, atmospheric black metal edge, and they've gone more of a post metal style. On Lost, there's cleaner vocals, there's bigger choruses, and there's different textures and different atmosphere in there as compared to their older stuff on the likes of Limbo and their older albums. Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not better than their older stuff. It's just different, and I get the feeling that they're going to lose fans on this album, but they're definitely going to gain a lot more. It's a pretty exciting chapter really for Gaerea. Luminary was one of my favourite songs on the album. I've not stopped listening to that since I got my hands on it. The chorus is just absolutely infectious, and it was something missing on the older albums. So yeah, this is probably my favourite album of the month, maybe. So yeah, Divine Chaos. They're a band that I've known about for so long, but I just never got round to listening to them for whatever reason. But Hate Reactor came out this month, and this was my chance to check the band out in a bit more detail. And yeah, I just love the take on thrash metal. It's not my favorite genre, as I've said a few times on this channel, but really like the progressive melodic take they have on it. They've got some huge choruses in there as well, and the verses are so aggressive as well. It's really nice contrast there, and it feels like quite an old school thrash metal feel. Conjuring up that Bay Area scene from the early '80s, but there's more of a polished, refined take on it as well. Especially with the way it's being produced. So yeah, it's a brilliant thrash metal album. Really, it's not a die hard thrash metal album, I guess, but I'm really sold on it, and yeah, I've still never seen them play live, and I really feel like I need to now after listening to Hey Reactor. Now, this is one of the smaller albums I was referring to at the start of the video. This is Antrisch, a German black metal band, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I'm probably not. This is Antrisch from Germany, and yeah, let's face it, in the black metal genre, there's all kinds of cliches and this cringiness at times. With the references to Satan, corpse paint, it gets a bit really boring at times. But yeah, Antrish, they provided something very different. The story of Expedition 3, that's essentially telling the story of Lope de Gaerea, a conquistador from Spain who went to South America in order to try and conquer and to, yeah, seek fame and fortune. He led a rebellion against the crown, which ultimately failed, and he was executed at his final stand there. And he was known for his violence and his temper, and it makes for quite an interesting story, I think. It's a story that I can't really understand because the band's singing German, but that's very much a me problem. I should learn to speak German before I listen to black metal. But anyway, that's another video. I really like the approach to the musical and the musicality as well because nothing ever repeats. It's lots of different movements. It's not canonical verse chorus structure. It's all movement one, movement two, movement three, movement 12, movement 13. And yeah, it just keeps having fresh and original and adds that storytelling feel. And yeah, it's a very different black metal album. It's something very fresh and original. And yeah, I do urge you to check it out. And if you're at Fortress Festival in May this year, definitely give them a go. I'm not sure what stage they're going to be on, but I'm pretty sure they'll give a fantastic show. Last but definitely not least, we've got Winterfylleth, as they've released the Unyielding season via Nuclear Blast Records. And let's face it, if you can be signed to a label of that size, you're doing pretty good. So fair play to them for that. And on this album, they've explored some of that older school feel to the band. They've always had this European black metal spine to the sound, and they definitely explore that in more detail on this album. I say in more detail because they've got a new keyboardist now. Well, he's been with the band for like 2 or 3 years, Mark Deeks, and he just adds a symphonic element to the band, this epic symphonic feel that you simply didn't have before. So it's a major enhancement. Also, there's some songs on here that explore that really dark side of black metal, a much darker side, like Dark Funeral, that sort of vibe. And yeah, it's something I've not seen from Winterfell before, and it's really exciting. I mean, you could listen to this on a hot summer's day, and you'll just be surrounded by fog and dark clouds immediately. I mean, that's very hyperbolic, but well, maybe it's not. It introduced some, cleaner instrumental songs on there, which really help the flow of the album, break things up. And again, they had a lot of instrumentals on the older stuff, so it's a very nice throwback, really. Again, this helps to break up the flow of the album. And speaking of curveballs, the final song on the album, it's just like, I mean, I had to question if this is actually Winterfella who wrote this because, they're known for that really, that pace, that intensity, that really, rapid black metal sound. But this is a slow, marauding kind of, gothic doom metal song. I think of Saturnus, that kind of style. And yeah, it's just, it was epic. I mean, those blistering, piercing lead guitars as well. I had to listen to it, keep rewinding it and listen to it again and again and again. It's just amazing, and it's just a complete curveball from Winterfell, and I loved it. So there we go. Those are the highlights of March 2026 from my perspective. There's definitely some I've missed, in the likes of Exodus. I did listen to Hellripper's new album, but I just wasn't very keen on it, to be honest. I don't want to sound negative, so that's why I've omitted it from this list. But yeah, if there's others you think I should check out, if there's others I've missed, definitely let me know. I always love discovering new music. So yeah, if you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you, and hopefully I'll see you again